And we're live. I've been rewatching Breaking Bad, really liking it. Obviously, Breaking Bad is awesome, but there was a fair amount. Like, I didn't think I completely understood the whole plot around the Ricin and the kid and Gus and like Jesse's understanding of it the way through. And this time, I'm getting it. I'm getting all the pieces that I missed, and it's kind of cool. You know?
Yeah, it's a great show to rewatch. I started rewatching it and dipped out in like the third season. But,
I like rewatching. I sometimes fall asleep to Breaking Bad. Doesn't matter. I just started the next show. I saw it before.
I've seen it twice now, and I liked it a lot less on the second viewing. I just get frustrated. You know, I just get frustrated with Walt when he's making those big mistakes, or when like he's being tricked into going like revealing the location of his money or something. I like Walt. Like I want Walt to win, right? I want him to just get away with his money, just like I liked Tony Soprano. I didn't want it to end that way. I want Tony to go to Russia with his money or whatever. So
I
like
like Tony more than Walt. Like it. For example, I just watched an episode recently where Walt says, "You know, Jesse, what would be good for you? Like, you're so young, you've got your whole life in front of you. You should leave town. There's nothing keeping you here. Why don't you just go somewhere else and start again? You could get a family. You could do this. You could do that." And Jesse's like, "You know, for just a second, could you stop working me? Could you stop working me for a second?" And Walt's like, "What? I don't know what you're talking about. You know, I think this would be wonderful for you. Ask me for a favor. If you need me to leave town, tell me to leave. Tell me you need a hand. Don't make it look like you're concerned dad. Like, this is bullshit. Stop working me for a second." And I was like, yeah, fuck you, Walt. Fuck you, Walt, and your dishonest, like, bullshit, working everyone around you all the time. Like, everyone sees through your bullshit. They're only buying your lies because they allow themselves to be lied to. They're not being fooled. You're just an asshole. Yeah, but he's not good at it. Like everyone sees through his bullshit, just like in real life. It's
he's pretty good at it. Like it's just. I don't know. I know exactly what you're talking about. I haven't enjoyed it as much on the rewatch though. I start feeling bad.
I wouldn't say I enjoy it less. I just see Walt differently a little now. Skylar sees through his bullshit. Wasn't fooled by him for a second. Jesse sees through his bullshit. He's not fooled by him. It just, Walt's out there trying to play everyone. It's not that he's dumb. He's very smart, and he's an okay liar, but he gets caught. Right? Jesse finds out the whole rice, but Walt's not getting away with shit. He get caught in the end.
I love how extreme he is. Like when he had to make some excuse for being away, and he went into that fugue state where he just walked into a grocery store naked, and he was like, "This is the penance I pay for killing 3 people in the desert." he just does it. Like he's like, "All right, there's option A and there's option B, and over here there's option C. C is fucked, but it allows me to continue with my lifestyle. So let's start stripping."
I watched him recently in the episode. He killed 9 people in prison inside of like 2 minutes.
Yeah, that was awesome.
Yeah, and it's just like his death count keeps going up and up, and he starts to be a real bad guy. And
yeah, he's been a bad guy for a while by the time he does that.
Yeah, I feel like prior to killing 9 people, he was a pretty terrible person.
It's true, but
I still root for him.
Those 9 people weren't bad guys. If I recall correct, well, they were kind of bad guys, but
they were just kind of people implicated in it that could have also implicated him.
They could have ratted on him. So if people don't watch this show, there were 9 people. They were currently in prison, and they went to prison because they kept their mouths shut. They were all offered deals to get out, and instead of ratting on Walt and Mike and people like that, they kept their mouths shut and they got paid. Well, at some point, they either lost the ability to pay them or the motivation, and he killed them all instead. So these were like your guys, you were paying them to keep their mouths closed, but they weren't murderers. They were just like involved in your drug distribution network. They went to prison because they got busted. They kept their mouths shut because you paid them, and you killed them all. And they never ratted on you. They never turned on you. You just killed them in case they might. And that made Walt a little worse.
Play,
And it is. Yeah, I never called him dumb, just kind of bad. When he killed if people don't know the plot, I didn't get it the first time. Spoilers. Where Walt poisons Brock, who is the young kid.
That was premeditated throughout like a long list of time too.
Yeah, and I just recently watched the episode where Jesse figured it out. Jesse was about to leave town so that he wouldn't be pressured to give up Walt, and he sees his cigarettes, and that's when he realizes, man, Saul had Hugo or something, the big black guy, pickpocket him, get the ricin cigarette. Waltz gave the ricin to the kid, and the kid got poisoned, but Gus had previously killed kids who were drug dealers or involved in drug dealing, but they were little kids, like 10 or 11. So he's like, hey, who do you think killed Brock or tried to kill Brock? Me or Gus, who is known to hurt kids? He killed Gus for these bullshit reasons, and it made Jesse motivated to, kill Gus. Or I think he actually killed Gabe, the other chemist. But anyway, on the rewatching it, I'm catching all the details I missed on the first watching, and it's pretty good.
That show is... Go ahead.
I was going to say the characters are a little more complicated. Like Kyle, I kind of rooted for Walt and was mad that Walt Jr. and his wife weren't on his team. But you watch it some more, and you're like, well, Walt's just working everybody all the time. Fuck Walt. Everyone sees through your bullshit,
Yeah. The first watch through, because that was one of the few live TV shows that I watched, and I was like fully engrossed in the whole story, like everything about it. I was watching each episode as it was live.
Yep.
And I was everybody's team Walt. They do a good job of setting it up where you're watching it for the first time and you're like, oh, Walt, he's in a precarious position. He's doing all of this for his family. He's doing all this for whatever. And then by the end of it, you're like, man, this dude literally, he killed dozens of people, ruined hundreds of people's lives in order to save his 1.5 family members, because Walt Jr. is not a real person. So everybody else just it was a lot of killing, a lot of disgusting stuff just to make his family hate him, but also not be miserable.
And it wasn't even really to save his family, because that entire time they could have been saved by his ex-business partners. It was really hundreds of people dying and having their lives permanently altered to kind of satiate his ego, his need to be that guy. When it's like, if you had a little bit of humility, you could have went to that goofy giant-eared fuck, which is the only thing I remember about that dude. I don't remember his name, but his ears
Huge
are
ears.
enormous, like Dumbo. And I just remember, like, all you'd have to do, go up to that guy and be like, you know what, I've reconsidered your offer. I will take that job. And then that guy will actually let you work there, and you'll get paid for it, and they'll take care of your bills. Like, that's all that it took. He was even giving him an out. That's the part about Walt that I hated the most, is like, that dude wasn't trying to give him charity. He was trying to do it in a way that also capitalized on Walt's skills. Because Walt actually is a good chemist, and he could have helped. And he's like, no, I'm going to go make meth in the desert with a drug addict instead and cause people die in plane crash.
How much did they make? Like, how much did he end up with at the end of it all? How much money did he or his family end up with? Was it because
I don't know. It kept getting cut in half again and again, and lost and ruined and stolen, and
it was an amount of money that throughout the course of whatever he was doing was not worth giving up everything he's had, right? Like, there was not a $10 million
there was a stage on it where when Hugo and Bill Burr laid on the money where it was many millions, right? Like they couldn't even count it, but I'm going to estimate it was over $100 million, right? Where it was worth it. But then I think they bury it in the desert and it gets partly stolen or ruined or something. And there was a time when I thought they were really rich. And then they paid off another guy's $600,000 tax bill, and suddenly they don't have much money left. And I'm like, what? You only had $600,000? I thought you had millions at that stage.
You might have. It was 80 million. Did you look?
Yeah.
So it's something like they might have had 80 million in cash, but they didn't have $80 million in liquid assets. I know cash is inherently liquid, but for all intents and purposes, they can't move that money to anything meaningful without the car wash job or without some way to launder it. So the fact that they might have had X millions of dollars in cash is inconsequential. It's impossible for you to use it.
Yeah. It's not nearly as useful. Like having 80 million sitting there rotting with you panicking every day that someone's going to come knocking on the door. You're constantly paranoid. Your quality of life plummets. Your family's stressed.
You get used to it.
Oh, you would never get... Maybe I'm so high strung.
Castro was literally burning money to keep his family warm. He would literally just burn stacks of money because it was so cold when his family was on the run that they had to keep themselves warm.
That
Oh,
was Pablo.
yeah,
Oh,
Escobar.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean Castro. I meant Escobar.
Yeah.
You know, Cubans. Yeah, same thing.
Close enough. But yeah,
Yeah.
I would much rather have gotten the job from Big Ears, who's like, hey, I'll pay you $400 a year, take care of all these bills, pay your outstanding debt, and this is actual money you can use. And you know, like, I'll give your wife a job once you're gone if that comes to it. Like, that's way more security than, hey, there's 3 barrels of cash in the desert. You got to go there and like pilfer some out every so often.
And you mentioned that early on he could have taken that job and not gone through this mess, but there were like 3 or 4 possible outs he had where he actually like stopped cooking for a while and they had all the money they needed and he still wanted to cook. You know, like the beginning, he never had to start, but there were a couple times along the way when he could have left, but just liked being a hotshot. Which, you know.
Oh, well, that was the whole thing is like you watch Walt change from I'm doing this for my family to I'm doing this because I am Walt. I am Heisenberg. I'm the dude, you know? So that's kind of the premise on it, but $80 million, God damn. Whew.
Yeah. 80 million, mostly useless dollars.
That's the thing.
He could have fixed that though, right? Like if he'd put all that time and effort that he spent to like killing people in prison or like coming up with chemicals to like washing his money or getting it out of the country or making it something else, like he could have done that. Like,
yeah, I mean, you could have just, he already had it basically set up. You buy the car wash service, you wait like 2 or 5 or, wow, I'm not an expert in money laundering, but you wait X amount of time and then you use whatever capital you have to buy another one or buy another cash-based service, and you just expand, and now you have enough that you can continuously launder money through it.
yeah, it seems like he just needs to get out of the country, really. Like
Or that, yeah, and with cash.
Yeah, just need to get out of the country.
Yeah,
If
showing
you're
up in foreign nations with barrels full of tens of millions of dollars, no one will take advantage of you.
Well, you might want to work something out with your Russian suppliers over there that he already had some like knowledge of.
You're going to show up and be in a
happened to-
freezer in 45 seconds as they, you know, pour vodka on your millions.
Ah, you go cook fucking meth for them, maybe.
Whatever happened to
exchange for your-
Swiss bank accounts? Like, wasn't that a thing where you could just like take your
Yeah,
cash?
but that's
and-
all. But that's not like physical cash, though. Like they're illegal. What is it? $10,000 in lump sum. If there's any, it might be $5,000 for state level. If you
It's
deposit,
anonymous. That's the thing about Swiss
that's
bank
US,
accounts.
not Swiss.
no. It doesn't matter. You can't deposit that cash. With you're saying go to like Switzerland and be like, I have $80 million in cash. Please
Yes,
put
I'd
this
like
in
to
your
put
bank.
this in an anonymous account.
Oh, I have no god.
I don't know. Is that still a thing? I'm not sure.
Yeah, it's totally a thing. You can just wire the money around, but if they ever get the account numbers, and they
can't
know
wire
that's
it.
your account, and they take your money from you.
Yeah, if you do that, they're going to go, wait here.
You can't
They're
wire
going to
it.
come
though.
back with the police.
It seems like they could do it if it's one of those like offshore
it's
things, like it's in
literally
the Cayman Islands or
cash.
something.
You go to like Cyprus and you go, hey, I have $1 million if you want to help me skirt this and get like, at that point, you've got 80 million and you're thinking to yourself, if I can just get 40 million into my account, I'm happy, right?
Mhm.
Like the other 40 million is greasing all of the cogs to get my money into my account. So it's here's $1 million, here's $1 million, here's $1 million.
Maybe you could like give someone like 2 million and have them go do it first to test it out. If it doesn't work,
have them put in like 10 million, right? So now you're only 12 million out.
you know,
I don't think we want to be doing
any
an
of us-
experimentation. I think you just want to know a guy, right? He's like, yes, all of my money goes through there, hundreds of millions, and you're like,
Yeah, but
"Oh,
you can't just
great."
like, what do you look Craigslist?
You can
like,
trust
hey,
me.
As he twirls
I
his
need,
mustache.
I need a
Pay no
Russian
attention
guy.
to the many scars. So I lost this I saving kitten from tree.
Yeah.
Wake up. He just needed to get out of the country. You couldn't stay in fucking Albuquerque. He was never going to enjoy that. That was never
Yeah,
gonna-
that was weird because
never gonna enjoy
he really
that.
was hot in Albuquerque. Why couldn't he leave Albuquerque? Is Albuquerque so wonderful that you wouldn't
Dude,
go
you ever been
somewhere
to
else?
Albuquerque?
No.
Albuquerque is garbage. Anywhere in New Mexico is ass, okay?
Yeah.
You
New
just need
Mexico
to
is.
know it.
It might be our worst state. It is fucking disgusting there.
Between Delaware and New Mexico, at least Delaware contributes farming to the United States.
What's wrong with
Al-
Delaware?
Oh, it's a shit.
A lot of things.
Delaware's not so
really-
bad.
Delaware is the
Only
worst
scumbag.
flyover state that happens to have an ocean. You know, like
What? Delaware's
Yes.
fine.
no, it's not.
I just hate the New Mexicans.
You prefer the
why.
old Mexicans?
The old
No,
Mexicans.
he doesn't.
No, yeah, the
He
fucking
hates
New
them
Mexicans.
too.
It really is a horrible place to be. It's hot as fucking shit there, and like dry desert air, and there's so much like Bureau of Land Management land out there that it's like, what do people own here? And oh, the shanty town over there. There's literally people living in shanty towns and shit.
Bureau of
all-
Land Management stuff is interesting to me because for people who don't know, here on the East Coast of America, there's really no land that's owned by the government. It seems.
Wait,
Like,
really?
I'm sure there is. I'm sure there's like Grandfather Mountain or something. I don't know, but when I fly
Appalachians
around,
have some.
someone owns everything around me. You know, for hundreds of miles, there's no government land around here. I'm not
Yeah.
much anyway, maybe a lake. But out west, it like flips the other way. Like the government owns all that land,
Well-
and you could just
The difference is what the value of the land is. So when you come over to, I'm not going to say LA, but when you come over to New Mexico, or if you're looking in Nevada, like this is not arable land. There's no real intrinsic value to this square acreage.
I hear you, but that's interesting to me, right? Like I have a friend in Utah, and he's into dirt bikes, like like dual sport motorcycles that are street legal, but really about dirt. And he lives near BLM, Bureau of Land Management land, so he can just go out and there's, I don't even know what to say, 1 billion acres? Is it millions of acres? I don't know.
It's a lot. It's not a
Hundreds
billion, but it's a lot.
hundreds of thousands of acres.
It's like tons of land that you could just go everywhere. I used to be in off-roading. They were the same sort of thing. Like, yeah, this is Bureau of Land Management thing. We just go rock climbing anywhere we flipping want.
But
I'm
there's
like, what?
nothing.
Doesn't
but
someone
there's
own it?
Nothing. No, but
If you're into shooting, right? Like, oh yeah, there's no one else going to be around here. We'll just put targets up on the side of this mountain and shoot them all day because it's wide open and you can do whatever the flip you want there. And that's neat to me because that doesn't exist here.
Yeah, but
It does. It's just in smaller
It
tracks.
does, yeah. And again, like one is you can't farm there. There's no value. Like there's nothing you can do without shipping in, water and housing, et cetera, to make this land livable
That's the
versus
case
where you
sometimes,
live.
but it varies.